The property market, it was not meant
No.
to be like this. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Haters are going to hate.
Yeah, interesting news article this morning that was sent to us by Glenn Higgs, who works for us. Thank you, Mr. Higgs. Interesting read, actually, and a really, really good topic to talk about this morning. It wasn't meant to be like this. I think that pretty much typifies the property market, and that's including the rental market. Very interesting article. We'll actually pop it in at the end of the show just so you guys can have a good read about it. But you would think, Mark, with all those interest rate rises, you would naturally assume that the property market was just going to bottom out, wouldn't you? You would just assume it. You'd look at it and just go, oh my God, like everyone's just going to absolutely lose their pants in property.
No.
Yeah, but you're the, if everyone's running right guy, I'm going to run left. That's you.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, to the person who is not exposed to property, you would look at that and go, 13 interest rate rises. This is a terrible thing for the real estate market.
COVID.
Oh, COVID, a war, so many things that have taken place, floods, bushfires, et cetera, et cetera. We're not leaving anything out. But, you would naturally assume that this was not going to be a good thing.
No.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. This is the newspaper article. I won't read it all. We'll put a link to it. When official interest rates rose from 0% to 4%, it was fair to expect some relaxation in house prices. Certainly all the big banks were tipping huge house price falls, but they didn't get what they expected. What changed was Australia's population. It grew massively as the backlog of COVID-era migrants arrived. What do you think about that, Mark?
The fundamentals haven't changed. The fundamentals haven't changed. I talked with a client specifically about this yesterday. The reason why property is good and Sydney is good hasn't changed.
And the answer?
It's just always doubled. It's just always done that for 100 years.
I know
the fundamentals haven't changed. So at the end of the day, there's always been wars, there's always been heartache, there's always been interest rate rises. The fundamentals and the pillars of why Australia is great are there, clear and apparent. The beaches haven't been taken away, the companies haven't been taken away, the minerals and resources haven't been taken away, the climate hasn't been taken away. It is a necessity. It is shelter.
And also, when this article talks about what has changed is Australia's population, it grew massively as the backlog of COVID-era migrants arrived. Look, migrants only arrive to a country or choose to go live in a country that performs well. Australia is a phenomenal country. Make no mistake, guys, in terms of our climate, our education, our medical system, we're just ticking boxes. It's a safe environment. Look at what's going on in many states of the west coast of America. I was on the phone with a client the other day, and he was saying to me, I've just come back from San Francisco, and I go, oh, how was it? I said, that's a great city. I haven't been over there in years and years. He said, don't bother. It is horrendous over there. They've got, riot police everywhere because a lot of these shops are just getting ram raided. There's robberies going on, there's carjacking going on, and there's police everywhere. Now, that's the west coast of America. That's a place that we used to holiday with our children as, we just felt like we were almost once removed from Sydney when we'd go there, wouldn't we?
Well, look at their tagline, Make America Great Again. It's saying that it's not great. It's saying that it was, when that politician was out banting that around. Why would we say Make Australia Great Again? It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's the reason why we have an influx in population I know we've had a lot of, particularly our Asian migrants coming to live in Australia.
We've had everything. We've had Indian, we've had Nepalese, but don't forget everything.
But again, Mark, education, tick.
Arabic,
climate, tick. Safe, tick. Medical system. Our medical system's phenomenal when you compare it to the rest of the world.
But haters are going to hate. Haters are going, oh, too many people come in the country. But at the end of the day, okay, that might be true. But at the end of the day, if you open a department store and think that people are just going to run through that door, they're not.
Yeah.
You've got to have a good offering. You've got to have a good offering. So thank God we've done the hard work and created that good offering that when we do open our borders, that people do want to come. They don't just come because you've opened the borders. They come because it's an opportunity, because it is better for the fundamental reasons. Why is our property market doing well? It's because of those fundamentals that people forget.
And the fundamentals didn't change, guys. Understand that.
You're letting me talk a lot today.
I said that at the beginning of the show. I said to Mark, I'm going to let you talk a lot today. But the fundamentals, as Mark mentioned, they definitely did not change. And even in the absolute brink of COVID, we were still saying, and we have video evidence of this because we were doing our social media all the way through COVID lockdowns.
Hard.
And we were saying, just watch the market, guys. You have opportunity now. The market has come off. At a certain point. Don't forget, the media at that stage during COVID lockdown were predicting the property market was going to come down 30%. And guess what? It did the absolute polar opposite. It went up 30%. Then it came down 20%. Now, I'm not much of a numbers girl, but I can tell you now, people still made money. They still made money.
I'm a numbers boy.
What have you got there, Mark?
Glenn Higgs has come to the rescue again.
Tell us what that is.
26 million, 813 people, 963 people. It's growing. It's good.
Yeah.
Hey,
it is good.
You know, haters gonna hate. Unaffordable market, unaffordable interest rates, unaffordable rands. Why unaffordable? Yes, this is true. People are suffering. It hurts, but property values, have they exploded?
They're on the brink of exploding, yes.
Okay, I'll say it this way, and this is a live show, guys, so if you want to make a comment, you love it.
Yeah, please do.
You love it, you hate it, jump in. But get this, people are paying too much for property. Is that right? Property prices are too high?
So people say.
So the growth has been out of control?
So people say.
So if you go onto RP data and look at the last 10 years of the Australian property market, it has always doubled every 10 years with units and with houses.
Yeah.
It's not correct.
Why?
I was with a friend having dinner last night. We went to
a very funny dinner.
Very funny dinner. we went. And he's 24. And he was talking about the market. We jumped on to all of the major suburbs in Sydney. We went to Parramatta. We went to DY. We went to Sydney CBD. We went to Bondi. We looked at all of those, and I showed him the performance. Now, and I knew this, and I know this, and I want to tell people, if you think it's out of control and the prices have gone gorilla, they have not. With units. Units in Sydney have performed between 50, 60 or 70%. They have not doubled in 10 years. They have historically always doubled the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So the last 100 years, property values doubled, they just double.
And that's what that data on here says as well.
Data.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when people are going, oh my God, I believe units are a good buy, and I know they haven't performed like they should have, and I believe there's legs in that market.
What about rents, Mark? They talk in this article that rents are now one of the most stubborn and painful elements of consumer price inflation. While petrol prices are flashy and noticeable, they're also volatile, and they're going to talk about petrol. But rents are just grinding upwards strongly and steadily, and literally nobody expects them to fall. The way the Bureau of Statistics measures rents means rent inflation will be high for a very long time. They don't measure the asking price of new properties. They measure the prices actually being paid on average. So that means that even when asking rents stop going up, rent inflation will still be rising.
Rents.
For renters, sorry, I just want to go on to say, for renters, for renters who hope to buy a house, the situation is a triple whammy. This is what this article says, guys. It's getting harder to save a deposit thanks to rising rents. The interest rates they will have to pay on their loan is far higher than a couple of years ago, and the prices of houses is soaring.
If you look at what a mortgage payment per week is to live in your home, compared to what a rental payment is, it is still under.
Okay, so you're a numbers man. Let's talk about that.
Australians are spending 53% of their wage to live in their home in Sydney. Oh, look at that. Do you see that?
No. Oh, the little thumb that just came up.
Yeah, the thumb just came up because my thumb.
That's so funny.
The thumb just came up. Can I do that?
What happens when you do that?
So,
yeah,
in Sydney, people spend 53% of their wage to support their mortgage in their home. Tenants spend about 33%. There's a gap. So, yes, rentals have been pounded. Yes, landlords and property owners have been pounded more.
Let's talk about the rents, Mark. So, 2-bedroom apartment in DY, what is the cost of rent? What's the cost of rent on that?
Average is $650.
Let's call it $650 a week rent. Okay. Now, if you were to own the apartment and your repayments based on the current interest rates,
average of $1,000.
So $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
Repayment on, let's call it $850,000 apartment.
Yeah.
$850,000. You're paying $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
So they've got to come up with the extra money from.
What they're not spending money. They've got to take it out of their pocket.
Yeah. But it is significantly higher. But there's no doubt about it.
But there's much more empathy around tenants than there is property owners. So
then there's the first home buyer grant.
When you hear a property owner is pulling out almost double out of their pocket to survive, there's less empathy than when you hear of a tenant.
Yeah. So look, there's no doubt, guys. I mean, that's, as I said, that's a really, really good article that we're drawing down on today. We will put a link to this in our
Novak Social.
Yeah, we'll put that here just so you guys can have a little read of it. But very interesting article. But it's what we always say, nothing has changed in property in the last 100 years. Nothing's going to change in the next 100 years.
It's been a great property market for 100 years. And it's going to be a great property market the next 100 years.
That's been a great blanket rule as well, Mark.
Yep.
That's been a really good blanket rule.
Yep.
And if you just apply that and don't listen to all of the hype. We're in front of so many sellers and buyers every single day. And it's incredible the hype that is around the property market continuously. And I know that we're much more exposed to it than the average person. But, the buyer that walks into an open home and says, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. And I remember 6 months ago going, guys, you've got this little window of opportunity to pick up property at a discounted price. The property market's going to go up. And the vast majority of people just looked at me like, up? What do you mean it's going to go up? That's a joke, right? The interest rates are on their way up. Property market is literally going to plummet. And we're going to wait. We're going to catch it when it falls. And that just doesn't happen. The property market remains resilient. And that is, this article was not just Sydney based. This article was talking about other states of the country, Perth, Adelaide, the Gold Coast. I was talking to an agent up in the Gold Coast the other day, beautiful clients that I just sold for are moving up there.
Yep.
And they were saying, oh my goodness, do you know anyone up there? Because we literally can't buy property. Every time one property hits the market, it's gone, it's sold. So it's still a thriving property market.
So for our parents,
continues to be.
For us and for our grandparents, or your grandparents that lived in Australia, they always experienced property prices doubling every 10 years. I don't know how they did it.
No, they did. Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they survived. I don't know how they got through the 70 or 80 or 90 years
Not with
of
help
life.
from family. My parents didn't do it with the help from their family.
Right. So it's just one of those things. Now, if you look at COVID back in 2000, we're almost 4 years down the track. There should have been some sort of growth. I know there's COVID, and I know there's 13 interest rate rises, but there should have been growth through that period technically. And right now we're on the brink of being the highest property prices in the country ever. There's $10 trillion worth of property in Australia, and we're just about to break that record. And it's really an anomaly, and it's like it wasn't meant to be like this. It wasn't meant to be like this. That we should have taken a hit, but it's like, yeah, no, it should be doubling every 10 years because that's what it's done for 100 years.
But, guess what's happened now? And this is always the telltale sign for me as a real estate agent. And I feel like I'm quite good at reading the market. Fortunately, I document a lot of the things that I say when people think I'm crazy. And I go back and I go, remember in July, I did this video and I was talking that property market was going to come up. And everyone would send comments on my social media going, you're crazy. There's no chance this is happening. And of course it did.
Yep.
But right now on the northern beaches, and I would suspect this is the case in most parts of the country at the moment, just given what's going on with property prices, we have a major shortage of stock. And a lot of sellers are going, well, there's no stock. So if I sell, where am I going to go? You
can't build it.
And they're also saying, I don't want to be having to refinance on a much higher interest rate. And so it's put the stock into a holding pattern. And right now on the northern beaches, we are sitting under 600 properties across the northern beaches. That figure usually is sitting at the peak at about 900. I remember seeing it just under 1,000.
1,100.
Actually, 1,200.
Yeah.
1,200.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at about half, let's call it half the stock levels that we ordinarily are. And so, guys, if you don't want to believe what we're saying, if you just apply the good old-fashioned supply and demand, if you just apply that, I think there speaks volumes.
And if you
we're not seeing the mortgage cliff. Have you seen it?
Nope.
We're not seeing that on the northern beaches.
If you want to tear it back a little bit more, it's a good place to live.
It's a phenomenal place to live.
It always will be.
Yeah.
It always has been. And fundamentally, that is what's pumping. That is what's holding. And it is shelter. And then it's harder to build because it's expensive to build.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, as long as we're still a great, again, I'll go back to what we said at the beginning of the show. It's like a department store. You can't just swing your doors open and expect you're going to get bowled over. You've got to have a good offering. The pillars have to be good. And Australia and Sydney are good pillars.
Yeah.
And like I said, because of education, because of medical, because of geographically, like how the waterways, the beaches, everything. Those pillars are attractive to people worldwide. As long as that's the case, we're good.
Yep, agreed. Supply and demand, guys.
Yep.
Supply is low,
Yep.
Demand is high. That's it. That's the bottom line. A lot of people are often saying, where are these people getting the money from? It's
the same place they've always got it from.
That's it. That's the truth. That is the truth.
How are they paying the high interest rates? The same way they've always paid higher interest rates.
And again, our parents, we grew up in an era where our parents were paying 17% interest rates. Not to say that's where we want them to head, but at 4%, they're still very, very appealing. And people are making it work. People are loaning money. People are buying property. Buyers are turning up to open homes, and property is getting sold. Yeah. So, and it is going to. By the way, it is going to grow. My opinion of what's going to happen with this property market from now up until Christmas is it's going to grow from strength to strength as supply even lowers even more and demand comes even higher. I reckon these property prices are going to continue to go up.
And how are they going to survive the pain? The same way they've always survived the pain. So there has always been, it's been typical that a commercial tenant or residential tenant's been complaining about rents going up. That's normal. Do you know what I mean?
I do have to say, Mark,
and it hurts, and I'm compassionate, but that, it's one of those things that, when Telstra puts the phone bill up, and it does go up all the time, it sucks, it hurts. Whatever you're
yeah.
doing, it's not nice, but it is a reality. Inflation is things costing more for everyone. It's not nice. It hurts.
I
But
do have to
people
say,
manage.
we took our daughter out a couple of weeks ago. She'd graduated school, she'd finished year 12, and we took her to a really beautiful restaurant. It's a bit of a nostalgic restaurant, and it was empty.
Yeah.
Empty.
Yeah, well, it's normal.
So
You don't
I think people
spend
are still,
like, you start shaping your spending. You don't,
yeah, you just
you know,
curb a lot of
you
that
curve it.
stuff.
You
Yeah,
just curve it or curb it. Curb it. You curb it.
curb it.
Curb it.
All right, guys,
Curb
I
your spending.
think that's a show, Mark. I think that's a show. Just quickly, I do just want to wrap up and say that there is a shortage of stock out there at the moment. We are definitely seeing listings coming on, but not what we would expect to be seeing at the beginning of October. This is ordinarily a very, very busy time for listings. The spring selling season came and went, guys. It was here about 7 to 8 weeks ago. It came and went.
Do you want to see a graph?
Yeah, I love graphs. Sure. Mark's just bringing up a graph.
Ready?
Actually, I do like these graphs.
This shows you how much stock is
DY, I think it is.
selling in DY.
Yes,
That's how much stock is selling in the last year.
there it is. The numbers don't lie.
Up,
Numbers don't lie.
down.
Yep.
Can you see that? Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Down. So let's look at that on a 10-year, because I know you like the 10-year graph even
Wow.
more. There you go. It just does that. It goes up, she goes up, she goes down, she goes up, she goes down. So you
Yeah.
can see after COVID, people abstained in those two dips before, and then they said, we've got to do this, and then they did that. That's total value of sales.
Now, guys, please understand that a lot of what we're talking about
Average
is Northern Beaches centric.
Because it's pretty.
It is.
If I rack it up to any other suburb across Sydney,
No, but I
pretty
do want to say that because I know that there are some areas. I often see Tom Panos reporting, and Tom will say things, and I'll be like, "What? That's not what's happening on the Northern Beaches." Sometimes I feel like we are in a bit of a micro market to ourselves. I know that there's plenty of areas in the in Western Sydney where people bought. Put in Quakers Hill, where people bought and then couldn't hold, and 2 years later they were getting their properties on the market and selling them for less. So, and Tom does always report the facts, and he reports them really, really well. But, often when we're talking about things, we are talking about Northern Beaches centric. I'm talking about stock levels being low. I don't know about Quakers Hill.
Stock levels or prices?
Oh, no, do both. Just quickly, we'll wrap it up with this.
3-year prices in Quakers Hill. Level. Last year and a half, level.
Okay, do stock levels. Let's have a look at stock levels in Quakers Hill. I'm interested
total volume
to see
sales or total listings?
the same, whatever the same equation was that you just used for DY.
Total volume.
Okay, see they're heading up, Mark.
They're down on volume.
Is that not heading up?
Oh, yeah, but that's 3 years. Volumes are down, down.
Interesting.
And then if you look at 1 year, there you go. You are right. That last little bit, they've come up.
The stock levels are up. And that's what I'm saying, guys. In different parts of Sydney, different things are happening. Are property prices going up? Yes, they're going up. Oh, it's our daughter. They're going up. They're going up right across the country. They're going up.
Boom.
Right across the country. All right, I need to go. I've got to go and say, have a great day to my daughter.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.